Valiant Hearts: The Great War is a seriously beautiful puzzle adventure game set in World War I, which is actually pretty neglected in gaming. Most war games are set in World War II. Valiant Hearts, though, has a perfect reason for choosing the Great War. The game is actually based off of real letters sent between lovers, families, and friends. I played this emotional UbiArts title on the Xbox One, though it is also available on PC and on the PlayStation Network. The whole game looks like a highly stylized cartoon, but not in a childish way. It's really, really beautiful and still manages to highlight the depravity of the First World War, even with its simplicity. The story starts off in 1914 with heartbreaking, intertwining stories between various characters with vastly different but equally devastating perspectives on the war and slightly different playstyles. As you run across the 2D world, there are bombs to be avoided, barbed wires to be cut, enemies to be distracted, trenches to hide you from machine guns, and even chlorine gas. While the puzzles that really push the game along are simplified with levers to push and chains to pull on and cards to push back and forth, the actual weapons of war are historically accurate, and shockingly so. You can unintentionally learn a whole lot from Valiant Hearts. The gameplay is really basic overall, with puzzles that certainly aren't hard, but at the very least require effort, so they're not too easy either. Probably the only major gameplay flaw that I found is when dodging some of the missiles that fall towards you from the sky. Your character actually runs faster than the screen scrolls, so you can very easily get caught underneath something while you're just running into the right hand of the screen and waiting for it to catch up to you. You can also pretty easily get killed after a cutscene has already ended and still end up dying because something was just about to hit you right before the cutscene started, with no way to avoid that, and then you'll be reset once again to watch through yet another unskippable cutscene. Aside from that though, the gameplay is really polished. While it's not particularly outstanding mechanically and all of your actions are simple and often kind of repetitive, the context makes it unique. Turning valves, pushing carts, and pulling levers is common in these types of puzzle games, but in Valiant Hearts, your actions might disable the chlorine gas being spilled across the battlefield and stopping you from advancing. Or you might need to do something much simpler, like coax a band to play music by addressing instruments in the correct order as a way to get a music-loving, happy guard to sneak away from his post so you can get behind him. You do also have a totally lovable dog companion who acts as a second pair of hands and can help you out from a distance when you need it. It all adds up to an obviously purposeful resolution. It's just there are a handful of occasions where it feels like you're doing the exact same thing, just in a slightly different setting. And while there might be some simple stuff like figuring out how to get across a bridge or needing to get yourself up onto something by flinging an object you've picked up at a rope ladder to make it fall down, there's also a bit of more exciting action to break up the repetitive stuff. Sometimes you have to time things really specifically to avoid gunfire, or speed along with you and your buddies spilling out of a car while you're frantically dodging whatever is being shot at you. Some parts of the game are actually lighthearted and a little silly like that, so thankfully it's not totally depressing, but it still manages to avoid discrediting the seriousness of the war in a very impressive way. Even the dialogue is often just a series of grunts or the occasional command, and the game has a gorgeous score. It's also narrated really beautifully, but the narrator sure does lay it on thick. Even when a sad moment is extremely obvious and quite beautiful in its simplicity, the narration will assure you that it's all very sad and you should be upset about it, damn it. On the other hand, Valiant Hearts does bombard you with a whole lot of historical facts on top of that. A little notification pops up every few minutes or so when there's something relevant to give you more details on, but I personally found the frequency super annoying. Sometimes it feels like Valiant Hearts is a beautiful story trapped in a video game, where your real reason for playing it will be the steady flow of moving scenes that explore death and victory and love and glory in a way that consistently delivers the feels. All of the feels. Regardless of being really polished and free of bugs during my playthrough, I wouldn't recommend playing this game just for the gameplay. It's there for the story and the setting and presents both with flying colors. The gameplay is a little repetitive, the puzzles are ones you've probably already finished in other video games, and there are a few little annoying bits here and there, but it is all honestly really, really worth it for the beautiful tale that it tells.